You stayed late again. Nobody asked you to. Nobody had to. The project was behind, and you were the kind of person who didn't leave a mess on the table. So you stayed. You fixed it. You sent the final file at 11:52 p.m., closed your laptop, and drove home in the dark feeling like you'd done something right. Next morning, your manager replies 2 words. You're incredible. And you felt that. You actually felt that. Here's the part nobody tells you. That wasn't appreciation. That was inventory. They just found out how late you'd stay, and they filed it. There is a game being played inside every company you have ever worked for. Nobody put it in writing. Nobody sat in a room and designed it. But it runs anyway, quiet and precise, like software nobody installed but everybody's running. It watches how you handle pressure. It clocks how often you say yes. It notices what you swallow without complaining. And at some point, without a single conversation, without a memo, without a meeting, it makes a decision about you. Not whether you're talented, not whether you're ready to move up. It decides whether you're load-bearing, whether the structure needs you exactly where you are. And once it decides that you stop rising, not because you failed, because you were too useful to move. This is not bad luck. This is not a bad boss. This is the operating system. And it's been running the whole time. Here's the wild part. They never forced you into any of this. They didn't have to. What they did was way smarter than that. They made reliability feel like identity. They made dependability feel like character. They connected your sense of self-worth to your willingness to absorb, deliver, and show up no matter what. And once that connection got made inside your own head, you started protecting it yourself. They didn't build the cage. They handed you the blueprints and watched you build it yourself. That's the move. That's always been the move. Now let's talk about how the psychology actually works, step by step, because once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. It starts with praise. Real-sounding, specific, well-timed praise. The kind that feels personal. Nobody handles pressure the way you do. Honestly, I don't know what we'd do without you. And in the moment, that feels like being seen. It feels like visibility. But what's actually happening is a conditioning loop. The praise isn't celebrating who you are as a person. It's reinforcing a behavior they need you to keep doing. It's training. Subtle, warm, human-feeling training. Then the obligation kicks in. Because now you have a self-image to protect. You're the reliable one. The one who delivers. The one who doesn't bail. And once that image lives inside you, you start working for it. Not for them anymore. For yourself. For the version of yourself that doesn't let people down. So when the ask comes, the unreasonable one, the late-night one, the one that's clearly outside your job description, you don't push back. Because pushing back would mean betraying who you think you are. That's not pressure from them. That's pressure from you. And it costs them nothing. Then comes the expectation shift. Every time you deliver, the floor moves up. What used to impress people is now just baseline. You're not banking goodwill. You're resetting the standard. Each win doesn't buy you credit. It raises the minimum required to stay credible. You're running faster just to stay in the same place and somehow convincing yourself that the running is progress. And then, quietly, comes total compliance. You stop questioning the workload. You start managing it. You stop asking why this keeps landing on you. You start figuring out how to get it done. The question shifted and you didn't even notice. That's the system at full speed. You've been absorbed, and it doesn't even need to acknowledge that. It just keeps moving. This is NT trust. It's containment. And it's clean because you can't point to anything that was done to you. Now here's where it gets specific. There are patterns inside this system. Real, recurring traps that have probably shown up in your career and you may have mistaken for just how things work. The first one, call it the dependability lock. You're good at something. You deliver on it consistently. So naturally, you keep getting tapped for it. Over time, your name and that function become the same thought in people's heads. And that sounds fine until a high-visibility project opens up something strategic, something that could actually move your career, and your name doesn't come up. Not because you're not capable. Because you can't be moved. The thing you own would fall apart without you. Your excellence in one lane has quietly closed off every other lane. You got locked in by being too reliable for too long in too narrow a box. The second pattern is what you could call the invisible promotion. Your responsibilities grow. Nobody announces it. Your title stays the same. Your pay stays the same. But your scope is now doing work that belongs to a role above yours. And because you handle it smoothly, because you don't make noise about it, the gap becomes invisible. Your own performance is covering up the imbalance. From the outside, it looks like growth. Inside the system, it's just free labor wearing the costume of opportunity. You're not being elevated. You're being stretched. And stretching isn't the same thing as rising. The third one hits different because it actually feels good in the moment. Call it the recognition substitute. Instead of a title change, you get a shout-out in the all hands. Instead of a raise, you get everyone here knows how much you contribute. And that lands. It genuinely lands. But that sentence is not a reward. It's a placeholder. It's what companies hand out when they want to keep your output without restructuring your position. Public praise is cheap. A new title costs something. A raise costs something. Being told you're valued costs absolutely nothing and buys them another 6 months of your full effort. You've been paid in words because words don't show up on a budget line. The fourth pattern is the crisis dependency loop. At some point you became the person who gets called when things go sideways. You stabilize chaos. You fix what other people broke. You're the one who makes the bad situation manageable. And that sounds like power. It's not. Because it means your value only shows up in the story when something's on fire. You're never in the room when things are being built. You're only brought in when things are falling apart. You're not the architect. You're the cleanup crew. And the cleanup crew doesn't get asked where the building should go next. The fifth pattern is the loyalty tax. You stayed when other people left. You held it down through the restructuring, the hiring freeze, the new leadership that came in and changed everything. You were loyal when loyalty was expensive and inconvenient. And somewhere inside you, you expect that to count for something. It counts for this. They now know you'll stay through discomfort. That's all loyalty signals to an organization. Not that you're committed. That discomfort is an acceptable condition for keeping you around. You didn't earn protection by staying. You just removed your own exit threat. And without an exit threat, you have no leverage. None. Now zoom out. Look at this from the company's side, not as a villain, but as a machine trying to keep the lights on. What does any organization actually need to survive? Predictability, execution, stability. Not potential. Potential is a gamble. Not ambition. Ambition creates instability. The most disruptive employee in any system is someone talented who wants to move up and won't stop pushing until they do. That person is expensive to manage. The person who stays in their lane, delivers consistently, and doesn't rock the boat. That person is an asset. And assets get maintained. They don't get promoted. They get protected in place. So when your manager says you're a cornerstone of the team, what they are really saying is the plan is for you to stay exactly where you are. When they say they couldn't do this without you, they are telling you that your immobility is the point. These aren't compliments. They are placements. You've been categorized, and the category is stable. And over time, something starts to harden that is genuinely difficult to reverse. Your reputation calcifies. You become a label. She's the ops person. He's the one you go to for client problems. These labels feel neutral. They are not. A label is a limitation that's being dressed up to sound like a description. Because every promotion decision, every succession planning conversation, every calibration meeting where careers get decided, your name shows up inside the frame of what you have always been. Not what you could be, what you are, what you've always been. You're not being blocked. You're just not in the consideration set. And you never got removed from it because you were never placed in it. So what do you actually do with this? Not with hope and hustle, with cold clarity. You stop absorbing things invisibly. When extra scope gets added to your plate, you name it out loud and on record. Not with an attitude. With precision. This falls outside my current role. I can take it on. I want to make sure we document what's being added to my responsibilities. You make the invisible visible. Organizations can sustain invisible imbalance forever. Visible imbalance creates a conversation nobody can avoid. You introduce friction into your yes, not a no, just friction. I can handle that. Here's what it pushes aside. You make them choose what matters instead of treating you like you have unlimited bandwidth. When your yes costs them something, your yes stops being taken for granted. You start putting distance between yourself and your specialty. You volunteer for things adjacent to your current lane. You ask to be involved in projects where you're not the known quantity. You probably won't always get it. But the ask starts to slowly rewrite how people see you. It's slow, it's imperfect, but it's the only way to chip at the label, and you keep records. Not out of bitterness, out of strategy. You track scope creep, extra hours absorbed, results delivered beyond your official job description. Because when the compensation or title conversation finally happens, feelings don't move the needle. Evidence does. And you need to walk in with a file, not a feeling. None of this is a guarantee. Some systems are too set in their ways to shift. Some managers are too invested in keeping you exactly where you are. Some companies have already made their decision about you and aren't interested in revising it. In those cases, the real move is out, a planned exit, a strategic one, not driven by frustration, driven by math. Here's the thing that should sit with you after this. The system never needed you to fail. It needed you to succeed, consistently, quietly, indefinitely, right where you stand. Your competence was never the obstacle. Your willingness to keep delivering inside a framework that was designed to hold you still, that was the obstacle. And it was invisible because it felt like work ethic. It felt like professionalism. It felt like being the kind of person you were proud to be. You weren't building a career. You were building someone else's floor. The system didn't break you. It optimized you. And the most uncomfortable part of all of this is that from the system's perspective, you ran perfectly.